Devaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So Hare Krishna, dear devotees, I'd like to welcome everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today. I'd like to seek your good wishes and your blessings so that we can share a little bit more about Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 11. And this is where, up to now, we've discussed the beautiful pastimes of Lord Nrsingadev and Prahlad Maharaj. Now we move into an area of philosophy, and because Yudhishthira Maharaj asked some questions from Narad Muni, and he answers them, and actually answers them for our benefit because he's talking about how society is organized. So let's have a look at this. This is a really nice verse. I think it's right at the end of this chapter, text 35.
Yashaya lakshanam proktam pumsho varnabhiyuvanya jakam yadanyatrapi drishyeta tattaneva vinidishet.
Kamakshi? Yeah.
Very good. Translation, Srimad Bhagavatam K.J. If one shows the symptoms of being a Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Sudra, as described above, even if he has appeared in a different class, he should be accepted according to those symptoms of classification.
Hare Krishna. So this shows that the Bhagavatam fully supports the class system, not the perverted caste system, where if you're born a Brahmin, you are always a Brahmin, no matter how one behaves. Similarly, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. But it clearly states here that if one behaves, appears in a different class, but behaves, has the symptoms of one of the other classes, then that's how he should be accepted. So very interesting. But this is Bhagavatam, which is saying it. So the 11th chapter is the perfect society. It's split into two. Chapter 12 also talks about 4 spiritual orders. But here, chapter 11 talks about 4 social orders, classes. So the first 10 chapters, which we've gone through of the 7th canto, describe the pure inclination arising from unalloyed bhakti, unmixed with material modes, by describing the pastimes of Prahlad Maharaj, who was in that mode of unalloyed bhakti. Nothing could divert him. His bhakti was not mixed up with karma or gyan. The last 5 chapters, so we've got 5 more chapters, actually 6, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 5 more chapters, describe the excellence of varnashram for material assistance. So varna is the social classes, ashram is the spiritual classes. So we look at the social classes, varna, in this chapter. And the next chapter, we'll look at the ashram, the different ashrams, the spiritual classifications. They describe Nishkam Karma Yoga as the cause of inclination for bhakti mixed with material modes. So when the bhakti is mixed with passion, goodness, and ignorance, or with karma or gyan, then there are different results of that bhakti. And we'll see that when we're looking at these different varnas. In the 11th chapter, Narad Muni describes the duties of the normal varnas, the duties of women, and the mixed varnas. Okay. So the first, Sanatana Dharma. Yudhishthira Maharaj inquired from Narad Muni about Sanatana Dharma, which is the eternal occupation of human beings. Occupational duty of human beings. Sanatan means that which remains after the result is achieved. That only refers to bhakti yoga in one sense, which is eternal. Karma will change. So yes, after we pass away from this body, we will have our karma, but the karma will ultimately change. So it's not sanatan, it's not eternal. But what is eternal? The soul and any relationship it can cultivate with the Supreme through bhakti. That's eternal. It refers to Bhakti Yoga, which is not given up even after achieving prema. So Bhakti Yoga is so powerful. It doesn't just transcend this world, this body, but even into the spiritual world, that Bhakti continues. So it's very powerful. Sanatana Dharma is very powerful. And he also inquired about Varnashram Dharma, social and spiritual duties of humans. So the Supreme Being, the personality of Godhead, is the essence of Vedic knowledge, the root of all religious principles. So Narad Muni is explaining, one should hear, chant, remember, and perform services to the Supreme Lord. The Lord is the cause and the proof of Dharma, since he is the essence of the Vedas. This means that without devotion to him, Dharma cannot succeed. Right? Satisfaction doesn't appear by bhakti mixed with karma or as much as it is obtained by pure bhakti. And Dharma without bhakti cannot be accepted. So Dharma and bhakti go hand in hand. Pure bhakti gives rise to Dharma. It fulfills Dharma. It satisfies Dharma. So very interesting how Narad Muni describes Sanatana Dharma. Now he's going to talk about, he continues actually. They said they are the general principles by which one can satisfy the Supreme Lord. And there's 30 in number, which we as humans should try to follow. And we've just highlighted them separately. Truthfulness, mercy, austerity. The austerities generally means observing fasts on certain days of the month. So that's our austerity. Bathing twice a day, tolerance, discrimination between right and wrong, control of the mind and the senses. Yes, Nanivan?
Yes, when it says bathing twice a day, any specific one in the morning, any specific time the other one, or it should be night before we, night time? I don't know which is the second time when we should bath.
Yeah, probably, there's no specific rule,
Specification, okay.
but afternoon or evening is okay. Generally, it depends on if one has to go for number 2, one should bathe. So,
Yes.
So whenever that takes place. So
Some people have the medical problem of going a few times, isn't it?
yeah. So unfortunately, it's good. Might have to bathe a few times, unless the health isn't good. Before eating anything, if one has been to number 2, it's best to shower. It's regarded that if one eats in an unclean condition, then that food, that prasad, will not do any good to the body. So that's the general Vedic rule.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then for someone who's taken the Brahmin initiation, they actually have to bathe 3 times a day, the 3 sandhyas, when they do their Gayatri.
Okay.
Also, it's said that for sannyasis, they have to bathe 3 times as well. So interesting anyway. Tolerance, discrimination between right and wrong, control of the mind and the senses, non-violence, celibacy, and generally that means for grahasthas, those who are in household life, means having sex for procreation. That's generally what it means. Charity, reading of scripture, simplicity. These are all general principles to be followed by all human beings, whichever caste one is in or class one is in. Rendering service to saintly persons, gradually taking leave of unnecessary engagements. So as we grow older, we try to reduce social engagements, observing futility of unnecessary activity of human society. So For example, trying to avoid the news is one thing, because the news is same old thing happening to new people. So you can understand that, it's the same old, same old. So not too worried, don't get too worried about the news. It doesn't mean you don't keep up to date, but just don't get too worried about the news. Remaining silent and grave. Silent usually means speaking about the Lord. That's considered actually silence, because you're speaking about the Lord. It doesn't necessarily mean monrat, where you don't speak at all. But when you speak about the Lord, it's considered to be silent. Avoiding unnecessary talk. Considering whether one is the body or the soul, trying to distinguish, what are we? Are we this body? Are we the soul? And distributing food equally to all living entities, both men and animals. That's quite interesting. That's 20 principles. And then, what happened here? Seeing every soul, especially in the human form, as part of the Supreme Lord. This is, of course, quite challenging. The first 21 items in the above list assist us in bhakti. And then the last 9 items, from 22 to 30, are the core practices of direct bhakti, devotional service. So let's have a look at those. Hearing about the activities, instructions given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Chanting about those activities and instructions. So hearing about God, chanting about God, about his activities. When we sing Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, we are actually remembering these activities. Kunja Bihari, the wonderful activities of Radha Madhav in the groves of Vrindavan. Always remembering these activities and instructions. Trying to render service, that's always important. We should always, when we're chanting, remember the Lord, that we want to serve you, my Lord. Please engage me in your seva. And when we're chanting in that mood, he will most definitely give seva, service, which is the whole idea. Performing worship, offering obeisances, becoming a servant, becoming a friend, and surrendering one's whole life. So this is almost like the 9 processes that Prahlad Maharaj, Shravanam, Kirtan, Vishnu Smaranam, very similar to that. Narad has answered the question from Yudhishthira Maharaj about Sanatana Dharma. So from now on, text 13 onwards, he answers the question about Varnashram Dharma until the end of the 7th canto. So for the next 4.5 chapters, he talks about Varnashram. So Varnashram is important. Just because we're in this world doesn't mean we don't have to participate in it. We don't belong in this world, but we're still living in it. And Varnashram gives us the facility whereby we can live in this world and yet be somewhat spiritual. So what are the duties of the different Varnas? Those who are Dvija, which means twice born, they've taken Diksha. The Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishya, purified by their family traditions and their behavior, should worship the Lord, study the Vedas, and give charity. They should follow the principles of the 4 ashrams, that's the Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. So what are the occupational duties of the Varnas? So let's go through. And what are these anyway? Brahman usually has a nice belly. Kshatriya is always in the mood of conquering or aggressive perhaps, but fair. The Vaishya, businessman, the Shudra, who likes to work. So what are the different qualities? The Brahmanas, they worship Krishna or Vishnu. They teach others to worship. This is the qualification of the Brahmins. They study the Vedas. They teach the Vedas. They accept charity and they give charity. So this is what distinguishes Brahmins from everybody. And that's why they're regarded to be the head of the society. Because they're always in knowledge. They have knowledge. The Kshatriyas, who are they? They actually not, it's forbidden for them to accept charity. But they perform all the other 5, including giving charity, all the other 5 duties of the Brahmin. The Kshatriya is not allowed to tax the Brahmins. The Brahmanas are regarded to be the heads. They shouldn't be taxed. But the Kshatriya, they can make their livelihood by levying tax, customs duties, penalty fines upon his other subjects. So the kings, they can rule in this way. Kshatriyas are generally the kings or the administrators. And there are more duties, but this is what's been written, that's what's been spoken by Narad Muni. For example, Kshatriya, one of his duties is to protect the society. His Kshatriyas are regarded to be the arms of the society, and the arms protect the society. And then the Vaish, they're the legs of the society. The mercantile community should always follow the directions of the Brahmanical class and engage in such occupational duties as agricultural, trade, protection of cows. So it's very interesting how society is very much dependent on the protection of cows, and the Vaish are given the duty of protecting them. Formerly, it was regarded as the calculation of wealth. How many cows are under your protection? Now, if we remember, Nand Maharaj, he had 900,000 cows, Gomatas.
Excuse me, Prabhuji.
Yes, Jiraj.
Prabhuji, that Krishna is a Kshatriya Vaishya because he came from a Vaishya family to Kshatriya family.
Yeah, he's very unusual, Krishna. He transcends all of these varnas, right? He can be in all of them. Because as you're right, Nand Maharaj's son, Nand Maharaj was Vaish, cowherd man. But at the same time, Krishna was a king, right? When he went to Mathura and Dwarka, father of Vasudev. So it was a
Prabhuji, so he had to be a Kshatriya.
Yeah. But at the same time, he was a Brahmin because he advised Arjun on the battlefield, didn't he? So that was the qualification of the Brahmin. He was teaching spiritual science to Arjun. And at the same time, he also behaved like a Shudra because he served his own devotee during the battlefield. He acted as his
Yes, Prabhuji, he drove the
chariot.
Chariot.
Exactly. So he can be in all of them, but he's in none of them because he's a Supreme Lord. He's in charge. Does that make sense?
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Yes, Kaushal, come on.
Hare Krishna, my understanding was that he did what he did to set the example of all the classes. Do you think?
Yeah, definitely. He always acts like in that capacity.
Yeah.
Because he says
for us to follow him as an example and not to deviate.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. But he also shows that he can do whatever he likes. You cannot classify Krishna or God into a box, you know. He's God, so he should be behaving like a Brahmin whenever he comes. No. He can do what he wants.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas Ramachandra, for example, Ramachandra, he was born as a king, came as a king. He never changed from that. He always took counsel from the Brahmanas, right? He was always advised the Vaish, and he would engage the Shudras. He never diverted from his if you like, his Varna as a Kshatriya. But Krishna, original Supreme Personality of Godhead, You couldn't classify, you couldn't pin him down to anything.
Yeah. But in Golok Vrindavan, he's always a Vaishya. He's always a coward boy.
Yeah, his eternal occupation is cowherd boy. And that's why we always should try to remember Gomata, right? Krishna can't live without Gomata. And we can't even remember Gomata. So anyway, very good. There are some alternative duties for a Brahmin. And this is from highest to lowest. There's 4. So if a Brahmin can't do these 5, 6 things, they can take the occupational duty of a Vaishya, agricultural, cow protection, or even trade. They may depend on that which he has received without begging. It's just come to him. Or he may beg in the paddy field every day. Or he may collect the grains left in the paddy field or in the shops of the grain merchants. So there are a few things that are good. What the Brahmin shouldn't do is work for somebody else, nor the Kshatriya, nor the Vaishya actually. In times of emergency, one may accept the following professions. Rita, collecting grains from the field. Amrita, collecting without begging. Mrita, begging grains. Pramrita, tilling the ground. And Sattamrita, trading. So even the Brahmins, they are allowed to trade in an emergency, not as a profession, as a general activity.
So they shouldn't be these katha vachakas, just, to earn money.
Engaging in the service of low-class persons, however, is called svavrita vritti, the profession of the dogs. Especially the Brahmins and Kshatriyas should not engage in the low abominable service of Shudras. But nowadays we see that everybody's working for somebody. Generally, whoever you're working for are going to be a Shudra. This is because Brahmanas are equivalent to the Vedas, and a Kshatriya is equivalent to the Devatas, to the demigods. However, for a Vaishya or Shudra to take employment for those lower than themselves is not faulty. So Brahmins and Kshatriyas, they need to be independent of the other classes. So these are instructions from the Bhagavatam. So what are the different symptoms of one who is a Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra? So the Brahman generally is controlled, his mind is controlled, he's controlling the senses, he's austere, he does penances, he'll take a vow, for 1 year he will not take a public transport or something like that. He's clean, he's satisfied, self-satisfied. He's happy with whatever he has. And the Brahmins generally are very poor, right? That's the general rule. Because they were cursed by Lakshmi Devi, not to have any wealth. Forgiveness, they're very forgiving, simple, knowledgeable, and kind, merciful, truthful, completely surrendered to the Supreme Lord. These are very rare personalities to find in this world, in Kali Yuga. In Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said, in Kali Yuga, everybody is a Shudra. Probably worse than the Shudra, because the Shudras also have some culture. Kshatriyas, they're influential in battle, they're strong, and they're not fearful of anybody. Even if they might not be the strongest, they're still not fearful. They're unconquerable. Their minds are unconquerable. So even physically, they may not have the same strength as other Kshatriyas, but they're unconquerable because they cannot be scared. They're patient, they're challenging, they're charitable, and they can control the bodily necessities. They're forgiving. They're attached to the Brahminical nature. They like the Brahmins. They seek advice from the Brahmins. And they're always joyful and truthful. What's the qualities of the Vaishya? Being always devoted to the Devatas, the spiritual master and Supreme Lord Vishnu. They endeavor for advancement in Dharma, Artha, Karma. The religion, Artha is obtaining money, and Karma, enjoying the senses. Believing in the words of the spiritual master and the scriptures. So they have great faith in the Lord through the Guru and the Shastra. And they're always endeavoring with expertise in earning money. These are generally qualifications. Shudras is not what we will expect. We all usually cast them down, Shudra. But actually Shudras are quite incredible. Offering obeisances to the higher sections of society, like the Brahmins, always very clean, free from duplicity, serving one's master, performing sacrifice without uttering mantras, not stealing, always speaking the truth, giving all protection to cows and Brahmins. So actually, if this is a qualification of Shudra, then it's correct. We're all Shudra, but we're less than Shudras, because Shudras actually have got some good quality, great qualities. So the thing about all of this is we shouldn't be too proud about the varna that we may be born in, or we might think we belong to, how our symptoms are. Yes, Naniman?
Varnashram system, did it disappear in the Kali Yuga then?
Pretty much. Yeah.
Very much. We don't say in the Dwapar Yuga and Treta Yuga and obviously Satyuga.
Yeah, that's correct. In the Kali Yuga, everything is upside down.
Yeah.
That's correct. That's right. Because even the Shudras, they got culture. They're clean. They're simple. They do sacrifice. They don't steal. They speak the truth, and they give protection to the cows and the Brahmins. Well, we don't see that.
When I was reading this chapter, it says Shudras that they are considered the lower class. I was a bit surprised to read that.
Yeah.
Out of the four.
Out of the four. They're regarded.
Out of the four, yes.
Yeah. They serve the other three.
Okay.
Yeah. But just because one is born as a Shudra, it doesn't make you any less than the Brahmin, because the legs of the society are regarded to be like the Shudra. Shudras are the legs. And if you don't have legs, the society can't function. If you don't have a head, definitely the society can't function. So Shudras are regarded to be very much part of Varnashram Dharma, not looked down upon, but looked upon in the sense that they have a function, very important function for society to stay together. So the Brahmana class would not look down. Like if you see the behavior, even of the Kshatriyas, the Yudhishthir Maharaj, he was an ideal Kshatriya. He would never look down on anyone. So when the problems began when one was thinking, I am a Kshatriya or I'm a Brahmin and everybody else is lower than me. That's when the egos become inflated and arrogance sets in. And we become offensive to those we think are lower than us. They may be lower in one sense, in the way that they operate within society, but everybody is spirit soul. So from the context of spirituality, everybody's on the same level. And that's where we nicely go into the next section, which is the woman's duties, because women's duties are described in the 7th canto, 11th chapter, 25th to 29th verse. The women should serve the husband and his relatives and follow the vows of the husband. She must keep the house decorated and clean and be well disposed to the husband's relatives and friends. Now, just because we may think I'm a man or I'm a woman, and therefore I should be subservient or I should be the master, is a wrong attitude if one has that mood. So in the Bhagavatam it says, okay, the woman should serve the husband. But if the woman is thinking, oh, why do I have to serve? I should be the one who's the master. So in the next life, that is what will happen. One will get the position of master, but you're still in this world. And similarly, a man who's thinking the woman should serve me, right? I should be the one served. So in the next life, that person will be the one who's serving as a woman. So this is the problem with karma. This is the problem with having a status, and we're thinking we're attached to that status. I'm a man, a woman, my wife should serve me. I'm a wife and I should serve my husband. Yes, that's there in the spiritual context, in the sense that one progresses together towards a spiritual destination. But if one is thinking that I can exploit this situation, or I am exploited by this situation, then one remains in this material world. So how do we accept these teachings? How do we move forward from these teachings? Well, there's a wonderful, what's her name?
Devaki.
Devaki Mataji. She's a really amazing lady. Hare Krishna devotee. She served in Bangladesh many years, and we were fortunate to hear one of her classes, or a few of her classes, a few years ago. She was explaining how the woman's function in society is so important, because she gives strength, the support to the husband. It isn't that the woman leads the way. The husband leads the way, yes, because that's the way the body's makeup is. That's how the society or the relationship would flourish. But what the woman or the wife will do is it'll direct the strength of the husband in the right direction. That's fundamentally important. Isn't that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So one should see this relationship in husband and wife as a partnership. It's not that one is superior and the other is inferior. Just because the wife, it says here, is supposed to serve the husband, it doesn't mean that in a derogatory way. It means that the wife is actually the support. Why did the Kshatriyas take more than one wife? They were strong, they were powerful.
Because they got the strength from all these wives.
They got the strength from the wives, because they had to nurture that strength in a way that it could benefit society. And they had to take many wives in order to feel that that empowerment, because they were so strong. One wife perhaps wasn't enough for them. Something like that, anyway. So sometimes these teachings can be taken in perhaps a negative way, like, oh, Bhagavatam discriminates against women and, women's rights, this and that. But actually, the problem is we are in this material world because we're so attached to this body. So if we're thinking I'm a woman and I'm a woman, not realizing we've got a woman's body, that we're actually spirit soul, and we're actually servants anyway. Even the man is a servant anyway, maybe acting like a master at the moment, but he's ultimately a servant of the Supreme Lord, as I am. Then we don't get in this entanglement that having this consciousness of I am a man or I am a woman, but actually we are spirit souls.
And if you look at it, ultimately, there's only one Purush, who's Krishna. So it doesn't matter if you're a man in this world. In the spiritual world, you won't be that. You'll always be serving the one Purush. And also, like women, right from the childhood, they're always, not exploited, but always taught that, you should always, serve your husbands, and then husbands, when they're married, you're always serving the children as well. They're always serving, but they should, we should realize that it's like two rail tracks. You're going together, the man and the husband and the wife, then the goal is the same. So you're supporting each other in that way. That is why you're serving, because the husband does not have those qualities to serve, whereas the woman has those qualities to serve, and she's patient. That is why she's the first guru of the children, because if you look in Bharat, she's given more prominence than the father. And
Mata
every,
Deva Bhava.
yeah, Mata Deva Bhava, and also, oh, you know, you say Mother Earth, Mother Ganga, you know, so the mother, the woman is actually given more prominence in that way.
Any questions, any comments on this? Does that make sense? What do you think, Naniben? Is she with us?
She's not there.
Yeah, she is there.
Oh no, she's
Oh, she's
maybe out
She just come good.
of station. Anyway, interesting instructions. Any questions? Any comments? Okay. Varnas according to the modes. If one acts in his position in the mode of nature and gradually gives up these activities, he becomes nishkam kama yoga, free from material desires. So we can act within the different varnas, according to our behavior, our activities, our mood, our mental situation, and gradually give up these activities. We can also become free from material desires. Those who are too sinful and have just been born in lower classes are allowed to enjoy sinful activities fully. For thus, there is a chance that those activities will become detestful to them, and they will get the opportunity to be purified. So this is probably where vast majority of people are in this world. And there is always the opportunity given to become purified, even if one is the most sinful. However, if one shows the symptoms of being a Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, even if it appears to be different he appears to be in a different class, he should be accepted according to the symptoms of classification, which is what we were discussing right at the beginning, that we are defined by the symptoms we exhibit. So if we're behaving like a Brahmin, so wherever we are born, whatever caste or class we are born in, then actually we are regarded to be Brahmins or Kshatriyas or Vaishya or Shudra, whatever, wherever we are. Any questions, any comments? That's the end of the chapter. Okay, otherwise, let's go into... Yes, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Regarding the woman's found a quote by Srila Prabhupada. He said once, as far as the women are concerned, they are accepted as a power of inspiration for men.
That's it.
As such, women are more powerful than men.
Yes, that's it.
That was said by Prabhupada.
Yeah.
And the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 1, text 9, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Okay,
No,
sorry.
that's good. That's really good. That's exactly what this Devaki Mataji is saying.
Yeah, thank you.
The man, he needs to boast and he needs to get inspired. And the woman is the one who inspires.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll save this quote by the Prabhupada because somebody sent it to me on Women's Day and I thought, oh, that's so appropriate. Yeah, thank you. Haribo.
Any questions, Nani Ben?
As I was reading the section, it says that Krishna conscious movement is trying to re-establish this Varnashram system in the society.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting concept, but how far it goes, who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because women want so much liberation that I don't know if they don't want to be controlled as such.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the things that is described in Bhagavad philosophy, that what is the position of the women? It's okay, they're supposed to serve. They actually are the inspiration of the men. But if they suddenly take the lead, then actually society turns a little topsy-turvy.
Yeah. They will take the lead and the men will become a house.
Yeah.
Special word for that they use.
House husbands. Huh?
Yeah.
Yes. Somebody is on that line. Yes.
Yeah, but that if you see, that doesn't work because they can't if you look at even now, they can't do cleaning, they can't do cooking, they can't look after children, like the woman can. So, and then so there'll be frustration. That's what leads to all these problems, in the marriages then.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
But in terms of spiritual, both the man and the women are the same. If you look at Prabhupada's dealings,
Yes.
he gave equal importance. In fact, like one of the ladies who came here, Yamuna Devi, was so advanced. She was more advanced than most of the men who came at that time. And she actually made this movement grow very nicely. So, and in terms of Varnashram, that's one of the things that Prabhupada wanted to establish, but due to lack of time, it was very difficult. But he did establish some farms, and there's one guru, Bhakti Raghav Swami, isn't it? That he is very keen to establish this Varnashram system throughout the world. But as you said, it's very hard. It's interesting, but it's very hard to establish.
I don't think it can happen in the whole world. It can happen in our Krishna consciousness movement. I don't think it can even happen in Bharat, because women have moved forward and said we don't want anything like that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, even if you look at ISKCON, you have, initially it was all like brahmacharis in the temple, and then the grihastas would live outside. But even now, they've got brahmacharis and they've got grihastas. Once they move to one prast ashram, that is difficult because they don't know how to handle that area as well. So again, I think this Maharaj, there's a couple of sannyasis who were trying to establish the one prast ashram and how we can look after people who in the retired stage of their life. You got sannyasis, you got brahmacharis, you got grihastas, but even like one prast, it was never established. So that there's difficulty in doing that as well, even within ISKCON.
And I think our lives are so short, and there's so much happening. It's going to be challenging to establish a proper system. Yeah. Not that we give up, but I think I have to be a little practical. And the more we give out spiritual knowledge, the more one understands that actually Varnashram is a method of becoming God conscious through living in society in a organized way. But ultimately, we have to organize our lives on an individual basis that we can become spiritual. And whatever situation we are in, we become God conscious, So Varnashram can help, but at the same time, if Varnashram can also divert one from the real goal. So a lot depends on how it's set up and who's setting it up. What are their missions and goals, and how are they giving those missions and goals to those who are trying to live in that Varnashram system. It can be very easily exploited in Kali Yuga. So it's a tough one. It's a tough one.
Prabhuji, I think I have to go. There's some other work coming. Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you so much. So should we go to the lessons? Indulekha Maji?
12, Prabhuji, sorry. Chapter 12 tomorrow?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Chapter 12. I don't think I'll get to 13, but definitely chapter 12.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna to everybody. Thank you, devotees.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. So, yes, in the
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Lesson from Canto 4, Chapter 1. The Supreme Personality of Godhead exists within the heart of every living being and is prepared to give Bhakti Yoga to everyone, but one must be capable of receiving it. Chapter 2, since our consciousness can be changed by spiritual education, we simply have to carry out the order of the Supreme Lord to become free from the influence of the modes of material nature. Chapter 3, after long austerities and penances, one may obtain mystic powers, which eventually are vanquished, but the powers obtained by the Supreme Personality of Godhead are never vanquished. Chapter 4, by the pious activities, some souls are promoted to the higher planetary system, thinking only of enjoyment. But it is stated that there is no peace and prosperity in the free world without disturbance. Chapter 5, it doesn't always happen that good parents get perfect children or vice versa. Good and great personalities can appear even in the demoniac family. Similarly, demoniac personalities can take birth in pious families. As the saying goes, chapter 6, as the saying goes, education starts at home. Anyone can start learning from a very tender age, where the brain is like sponge and an empty room ready to absorb and retain any acquired knowledge. Chapter 7, if we perform bhakti yoga in relationship with Lord Sri Krishna, we can immediately acquire knowledge and detachments from the world and be situated on the platform of pure religion. Chapter 8, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is so kind and merciful that he can appear in any form, anywhere, anytime, in any circumstance, just to protect and to keep the word of his pure devotees. Chapter 9, one doesn't need high educational qualification or certain age to attain the Lord, who is attainable by anyone at any time through devotional service. And chapter 10, simple living and high thinking is the best way of life, because accumulation of too many material possessions get us more entangled in this material world and consequently draw us away from spiritual life. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for that.
Okay, Madhasan Babu, would you like to go through the instructions?
Okay, Haribol, Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Yeah, they said here, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Sri Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. A lot of instructions in here for everyone, really, to create a perfect society according to Sanatana Dharma or Vedic injunctions. Narad Muni, who compiled his Bhakti Sutra and gave instructions in the Narada Pancharatra, so does not really speculate, but when Yudhishthira Maharaj asks the questions and is referred to Narad Muni, actually, refers back to what he had actually learned and heard from Narayan himself. And Narad Muni said, after first offering my obeisance unto Lord Krishna, the protector of the religious principles of all living entities, let me explain the principles of the eternal religious system, of which I have heard from the mouth of Narayan. So here, obviously, he's saying that this is the eternal religious system. So it is eternal. That's why we say it's Sanatan. But most people don't like to say. I was talking to someone the other day and I said, look, we should stand up. We should be a Sanatani or Sanatan Dharma follower first. No, he said, he said, I can't understand that. Nobody would understand that. I would just rather call myself a Hindu. So Hindu doesn't say anywhere that you be a Hindu or anything. But anyway, a lot of people, even in Bharat, still do not understand what a Sanatan Dharma really is, and how it's defined. And Prabhupada actually does explain in several places what Sanatan Dharma really means. And it is actually an eternal religious system. So if you're religious and you've got a religious society, then it will work. There's Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and it's the working. But in Kali Yuga, it's not, So even Yamaraj, who is the authority, says that the religious principles consist of the codes and laws given by God. So no one can manufacture religion, and therefore manufactured religious systems should be rejected by the followers of the Vedic principles. So in Kali Yuga, such perfection in society is lost really. And we are instructed to understand Krishna and the devotional service to him under the disciplic succession. So we're fortunate that we're in the disciplic succession, coming from Narad Muni himself, and then Srila Prabhupada and his acharyas previously, even including Lord Chaitanya. But he said Kali Yuga is difficult. I mean, said that there'll be like Ram Raj in this world for 10,000 years, and then after that, Kali Yuga will take its full force till Kalki comes and finish everything. So we in this moment, we are fortunate that this is only just the beginning. It's only been 500 years since Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come. Prabhupada has done a wonderful job. There'll be a lot of work to be done later on for the establishment of some element of Varnashram system. And it's fortunate that, we under these guidance, it's corrupted, the influence of Bollywood and this and that nonsense in India, Bharat as well. So people are all diverted and distracted, and there is element of not being religious. They don't want a religious system as such, because the barbaric system is different. The Vikings and the Mongols and the barbaric, when they go there, they don't really follow the code. They're not taught, their children are not taught to be brought up in like be a brahmachari, respect all the women, respect the earth as your mother as well. And different types of mothers, even a nurse is your mother as well. So we guided like that under Sanatana Dharma. But the other religions and all that, even Vikings, Christians, they just go and loot and rob, and then they distribute the wealth, the women, children amongst themselves in certain percentages and all that. That is their not so-called religious principles or system as such. But that's have been predominated and corrupted and imposed on society. So this battle goes on in this material world between demons and demigods and all that. So, but we are fortunate that we are in this now. At least we have an element of a vision or a glimpse of Sanatana Dharma principles. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Very
Hare
good.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Very good. Well put. Okay, so let's go to the Nishinga Kavach. Now, Indulekha Maji, would you like to chant